Assalamu alaikum. Okay guys, I know everyone love Palestine. Like I and my brother did. Please just listen carefully, the truth that my brother want to tell.
But when I saw what's happening in Rafah, I said it's impossible. Impossible for someone who thinks that there's a day of judgment, he will block and close the borders on his brothers and sisters. Impossible for someone who thinks he will be accountable, he will charge his brother and sister to leave a war zone. Impossible for a person, for a Muslim leader who can make a change and fear the day of judgment will do something like this to his brothers and sisters. Impossible. How can you do this? How can you see your brothers and sisters suffering and you will be accountable that you were able to help and you did not do anything? And not only that, you assisted the enemy.
Listen, I'm very happy that we are blocking celebrities who have ignored the genocide in Gaza, but there's also a different group of people we also need to focus on. Arab and Muslim influencers and creators with millions and millions of followers that have completely ignored the genocide of their own people. Arab and Muslim creators who for the last 7 months have been posting POVs and funny videos and get ready with me's, who have been indulging in luxurious brand deals and going on trips and posting these videos with completely no mention of the genocide of their people. I just want to say one thing to these creators. Do you know the people of Gaza are watching you? People of Gaza are watching your videos. They see your pages. They know that you are Arab or that you are Muslim or that you are even Palestinian, and you are completely ignoring their pain and suffering. Do you know even what's worse than that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you, completely ignoring the needs of your people, completely ignoring your obligation to stand against injustice. You will be asked on the day of judgment, what did you do? What did you do against this injustice in your lifetime? And don't tell me that there's nothing that you can do. You have millions of followers. You guys have the ability to amplify posts from the people of Gaza, to educate yourself. It is your obligation to educate yourself. Where is your anger? Where is your frustration that your people are being killed? Where is the qahr?
I'm gonna make this video for anybody who's still silent about the genocide in Gaza. Your silence is so fucking loud, bro. Your silence is deafening, dog. Your silence is green lighting a genocide. Your silence is complicity with colonization. Your silence is a tacit admission that you are unaffected completely by the slaughter of children. Your silence is alignment with imperial mass murder. Your silence is deafening. Your silence for this period of time is the master's dream. Your silence for 8 months, let alone 76 years, your silence for 8 months is a fucking enigma. Your silence is the forfeiture of your humanity. Your silence is the cost of your soul. Your silence is the sound of shame upon which your progeny will hear your name for an eternity to come. Your silence comes at a fucking cost. It's actually louder than the things that you would say. Your silence screams. Quit being silent while children are being murdered with your tax dollars and your indifference. Speak up. Grow a soul. Speak out against genocide. Speak out against the murder of children. Speak out against imperial slaughter. Speak out against this fucking despicable evil darkness that we have been witnessing, all of us, whether or not you want to dissociate it from it or not. Speak out against it. Use your words. I love you. I believe in you. You can do this. You can fucking grow a soul, and you can speak out, and you can choose to never again be silent. Silence is not just complicity. Silence is a green light to commit genocide. Don't do that.
Ain't nobody afraid of Muslim people anymore. The war on terror propaganda is not working. I've met a lot of Muslim people at this point in my life, and almost all of them were extremely kind, and a lot of them were super disciplined and focused, which is something that I respect a lot as a wrestler. Some of my favorite mixed martial arts fighters like Khabib Nurmagomedov are devout Muslims. Nowadays, we have white boys in the rural Midwest rooting for Muslims every UFC fight night. You're not going to be able to convince us that these people are evil and that our tax dollars need to be spent on bombing them. And you know who hasn't always been kind and friendly to me? Israelis, Zionists. I talked to some members of the IDF on Zoom. It took them about 5 minutes to start saying all Muslim people are terrorists. And to be clear, I'm not talking about Jewish people. I'm talking about supporters of the State of Israel, who, with their violent, unhinged, and rude behavior, are turning more and more people away from their cause, away from Zionism. Meanwhile, Muslim people with kindness and friendship are bringing more people towards the cause of Palestine. There were a bunch of students at the student protests recently who converted to Islam. And the mainstream media was like, look at this, see, America's being taken over by Muslims. Now I'm like, I don't blame those kids for converting to Islam at all. The Muslim students were probably super nice and super awesome and super welcoming. And they're like, hey, I'm gonna side with these guys against the mostly secular, genocidal monsters that we're protesting against. Shout out to all the Muslims.
You guys remember this, right? This is the port that the US built on the shoreline of Gaza to apparently deliver humanitarian aid. Well, let's talk about it. This port was just used to deliver what we call a Trojan horse. What do I mean by that? The US military and Israeli occupying forces hid in humanitarian aid trucks that were supposed to deliver aid to El Nasriyat refugee camp, a population that has forcibly been starved for the last 9 months, to carry out what they call a rescue mission by indiscriminately firing on Palestinian civilians to rescue 4 hostages while massacring over 200 innocent men, women, and children and injuring over 400 of them. The images are truly disturbing, and of course the mainstream media is completely fabricating their stories, making this massacre sound like a rescue mission. Here's some examples provided by Slow Factory. Imagine if these headlines read how the events actually took place. US and Israeli forces murdered over 200 innocent men, women, and children to save 4 hostages. Doesn't sound so heroic anymore, does it? We must make sure that we set the record straight. A massacre does not equate to a rescue mission. Murdering civilians in a refugee camp cannot and will not be justified. Israel has been offered multiple ceasefire resolutions and hostage exchanges proposed with reasonable demands. The value of Palestinian life in the eyes of the Western world is truly disgusting, and we will not stand for it. So as always, we need to keep sharing, keep posting, and do not stop talking about Palestine.
Take a look at what happened yesterday.
New video shows some Israeli settlers blocking trucks and tossing aid packages that were headed for Gaza.
What you're seeing here isn't just vandalism. It's a deliberate attack on basic human decency. These trucks are filled to the brim with humanitarian aids that were meant for the Palestinians in Gaza. This footage isn't just disturbing, it's pissing me off because we paid for that aid, you paid for that aid. How can there be any justification for such barbarity? Destroying aid, preventing essential supplies from reaching hungry, sick, and vulnerable people. Every box that was thrown is a lifeline cut. A hope that was shattered for families who have nothing but the aid that they are waiting for. I don't see any media outlets or news channels speaking about this. Governments of the world, sabah al khair. Isn't this your people's money? Isn't this technically property that belongs to your charity organizations?